Hey there, Chad here for the AI Content Dojo. And in this video, I just want to have a little bit of fun with the AI this time. And I actually ran this experiment just a little bit inside of my Facebook group. If you're not a part of the Facebook group, just go over to Facebook and do a search for the AI Content Dojo. You'll find it there. Or in the description below, I'll have a link to it, of course. But essentially, what I want to show is that Shortly has kind of two modes, right? You can write articles and blog posts, and then you can also write stories. So I'm going to choose story this time, which is not normal for me. I don't really typically write too much in creative writing, sort of. But I had a little bit of fun today, and I wanted to share it in a video in case that you happen to be a creative writer, and maybe this will help you maybe develop characters or come up with ideas. It's really kind of, I'm not going to go so deep in this as to show exactly how you might, fully flesh out a story or something like that. This is just for fun because the AI is going to come up with some pretty crazy things. But if you are maybe trying to think of some crazy ideas, this will probably do it for you. Or maybe if you wanted to have a little bit of fun, maybe you've got small children or something, and you want to kind of think of a way to have some fun with the AI. One thing that was brought up inside the Facebook group was that some people are writing stories where they're writing them with their children and the AI, and it's really kind of an interesting thing, I think. But anyways, what I want to show you is an interesting lead, and I started off with Meet Frank, right? Just Meet Frank. That's the dude's name. You're gonna want to then start off with a lead that gives the AI something to work with, and I just did. Frank is or is a. Uh, there's not a lot to work with right there, right? So in the context of this, the AI just knows Frank and then really nothing else. And it's going to come up with basically whatever. When I first ran this experiment, it said Frank is a pigeon, and that pigeon learned how to fly, and he knows how to speak Chinese and everything. And it's fun. I just wanted to show this off because if you need a break from all that work that you're doing, and a little bit of fun story time could kind of give you a little bit of that break, uh, then it's worth it. Or if it gives you some ideas or things to work with for your projects, then that's awesome too. I think if you were to try to use this in your project, you might give it a little bit more. Like maybe say like Frank is a 43-year-old flower shop owner, and then let the AI take over. Give it a little bit more context to work with. Maybe just put something in the story background. And that way the AI won't just sort of riff off of nothing and come up with just some crazy random stuff. But so without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and run this a few times. I'm going to leave it on somewhere in between for the setting and just see what the AI comes up with. If it comes up with something too crazy and it offends you, I apologize. Uh, it's AI. This thing is bound to embarrass me at some point on one of these videos, and this just might be it. But here we go. Right for me. Let's meet Frank. Oh, he's a guy. He's a 29-year-old guy. Been living in the city for like 3 years. He loves the city. In the morning, Frank would go to work. He'd be tired. He got to work too. He had a desk job. The boredom of the first few hours made him yawn all day. I can almost relate to this. He was the crunch time guy who would fix the big issues at night, and then he would log out. Wow. It's like this thing almost read my mind. I mean, I'm not 29 years old, but I am that crunch time guy, and I'm often at the office into the night to solve the big issues. That's kind of crazy. So two things. I could continue letting it write and come up with more of a story for this. I don't find this story to be all that interesting, so I'm going to rewrite it. But I'm going to show you. Let me just go ahead and hit rewrite so it can start rewriting while we talk. I want once I get something more interesting, and I might want to keep it, but I want to start a new one. I'll basically copy this lead, and then use the triple slashes to cut off context and paste it back in there again. Meet Frank. Frank is a small time crook living in New York. His friends include his younger brother Bill. His car has broken down, so he has no way of getting home until morning. He spent the night at Penn Station. The whole place is full of cops and people who speak a strange language. Okay. All right. So Frank is a foreign language speaking small time crook in New York City. He's working for Mr. Let's let that finish. Who's he working for? Mr. Big. Oh man. He's either Jewish or a Yankee fan or both. Frank was raised by his brother. Since they were small, they never had a share of their inheritance. You know, could be the decent start to some sort of crime story. You know, let's run one more before I call it for the video. But typical sense. Okay. Ooh, he has the world's greatest parents. That's awesome. Very single-minded interest in robotics club. Very smart kid. Okay, Frank wants to see the robotics he has built perform in the competition, and then after that it says Frank is not in the school's robotics club. Why? Whoops. Why isn't Frank in the robotics club? Actually, let's make this one of the. Let's see. I don't know if it's gonna, like I said, I'm not a creative writer, but I just kind of going with it. With difficulty, it's for high ability students with difficulty learning. We can't let Frank anywhere near the club. He doesn't need it. He's already too good for it, basically. Okay, cool. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to show in this video. Just a little bit of fun that you can have with Shortly 2. It's not always got to be like just straight serious writing. If you want to have some fun with this, then you should. And maybe even it'll help you learn how to make better use of the AI for your projects anyways. And so if you don't have Shortly, please use the link in the description. That will, it is an affiliate link, and Shortly will provide a small donation or small commission to the AI Content Dojo so that I can keep making cool guides like this and the website and push to create even more helpful content to help you make the most of this and your digital content workflows. With that said, please hit up the AI Content Dojo Facebook page or Facebook group, where we discuss all this stuff in a lot more detail and just riff off of each other, and it's a really good group where we try to not spend a lot of time focusing on what all the tools are that are out there and kind of like which ones versus this one's better than this one or anything like that. We kind of more focus on the content and creating it and using these AI tools to augment our abilities. And so I hope to see you there, and until the next video, take care.